So, losing jobs for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death? I have more leftist hypocrisy coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense, Logic, and Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So, a lot of leftists have been losing their jobs for celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, and reportedly it's been over 1,000 of them. And their response to this is, well, cries of free speech, right? They say that conservatives have always advocated for free speech in any other situation, but they don't want to advocate for free speech for this. So they try to call conservatives hypocrites based off of because of the response. Or I guess lack thereof of a response. But conservatives don't celebrate people's death. Basically, what conservatives tend to do is give their opinion of a particular case based off the facts and what happened and what was the final result of the case or the final decision of any case. They don't typically, see them celebrating people's death like George Floyd. Nobody celebrated George Floyd's death, but they spoke the facts of the case. And of course, since a certain group of people don't want to hear the truth, they'll just cry racism. Anyway, so where's the hypocrisy in this though? Well, as we know, conservatives people have been losing their jobs for saying politically incorrect things for decades now, for a couple of decades at least. But really, at least 2 decades, right? Because remember, the most popular person would be Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson was like had one of the most popular shows on Fox. Was canceled because of saying something that was politically incorrect. And then you have Paula Deen, right? Paula Deen, she had a cooking show. I never saw the show, but her show was canceled because of an alleged racial slur. Now, I never heard any evidence, seen any evidence of any racial slur, but just the quote unquote accusation is enough to get you a white person removed, right? So much for white supremacy, right? And then there's Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen had I believe one of the most popular sitcoms during his run, 2.5 Men. Well, the show was removed because Charlie Sheen supposedly made anti-Semitic remarks. Now, anti-Semitism is one of those things I believe is just ridiculous. That I put it up there with racism. Just because you criticize Israel or criticize a Jew or speak against Zionism doesn't mean that you against all Jews or just against Jews for calling out wrong behavior. Then there's Phil Robertson of Duck Dynasty. Remember, I think they tried to cancel Duck Dynasty, or Phil Robertson and his family was ready to walk away from Duck Dynasty to stand 2 toes down on their Christian values. Now, supposedly he said anti-gay things. I believe he was speaking out against the whole culture of homosexuality and same-sex marriage. Being a Christian, he was opposed to it. And him and his family, as I said, they were ready to walk away from Duck Dynasty to stand 2 toes down on their Christian values. But why should he have to for speaking his views? Or should they have to for him speaking his views? And then there's Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin had his show, Up Late with Alec Baldwin. His show was canceled because of supposedly quote-unquote homophobic rants, whatever he supposedly said. And again, notice these are all white people, and these are all whites in Hollywood. And we know for certainty that that if you are conservative in Hollywood, you're going to get removed and you're going to lose jobs in Hollywood. I always talk about the story about Larry Elder talks about how they were filming something in a house next door to him, and he went out there, was looking, they were talking to the crew, and there was a guy who was a caterer, who was hired to cater, and he was talking about how he was a fan of Larry Elder, and then come to find out after that, I guess somebody overheard him saying that he was a fan of Larry Elder, and the guy said he hadn't received any jobs since that point. Or he hadn't had any jobs after that because of being a fan of Larry Elder and saying it loud in Hollywood, that people overheard. And then there was a gentleman who lost his job because of a politically incorrect tweet he made, I think like 12 years ago when he was in high school. And it's ridiculous. And I can tell you there's nobody that's probably been more banned than Thomas Sotomayor for speaking politically incorrect truths, conservative truths about black people. And this man is, I think, what he said, he had to create over 90-something different YouTube channels before he had to finally got kicked off and just threw up his hands and said he had to go to Rumble. He even got kicked off of OnlyFans. I mean, how the hell you get kicked off of OnlyFans? Again, these people are just truly hypocrites. And it's like they just always flip-flopped in the left. They are constantly flip-flopping based off the situation. It's no different than the same thing we saw with the second Bush. When the second Bush was in office, they were saying he lied and people died. Then Barack Obama got in office, expanded the second Gulf War. They said nothing. Then when Trump was running in 2016, there were cries of he's gonna have us in all these wars, and the man got us out of wars. These people are, I'm telling you, are truly hypocrites. Me personally, I just don't understand it. Being a person who's very logical, I don't get it, but I understand this is one of the tactics that they have to employ because they can never stand on facts. Regardless, do not cry to me about all of these people who are losing their jobs now. And the reason why it's been so many, so quick, is because they've been operating with impunity, thinking that nothing can ever happen to them. And now they're starting to get conservatives are starting to flex their muscle more and more, and they're starting to get a grip of reality. So eventually it's going to sink into them that they can't just say what they want. Now that conservatives are getting more active. But I really don't, you can't, how am I supposed to be upset about them losing their jobs when I look at all the conservative people or all the people who lost their job for saying stuff that was politically incorrect? Anyway, y'all, that's my 2 cents on this. Hopefully, like I say, they finally start to get a realization that conservative people are going to start flexing muscles, and they're going to start demanding people lose their jobs and their livelihoods as well. Anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.